All right, so today is day 26. We are doing Job 7 through 8. And I'm going to go ahead and mark that off. We are still talking about God's unbreakable promises. And so now we are going to be reading. Job is responding to his friend Eliphaz. Eliphaz had just basically told him that that Job must have done something wrong, that there was some sin or something that Job done. And so Job responded to him in chapter 6. He started responding to him, and then we are going to continue on with Job's response to him in chapter 7. And then chapter 8 is going to be his other friend, his second friend who spoke up. So, isn't each person consigned to forced labor on earth? Are not his days like those of a hired worker? Like a slave, he longs for shade. Like a hired worker, he waits for his pay. So I have been made to inherit months of futility, and troubled nights have been assigned to me. I mean, Job, he is going through it. He is saying that the days and nights are getting long for him, and that if you look back, the term forced labor could be used of military service, but here it involves the institution of service that was demanded of a man for a certain period. Hired hands usually worked for a day's pay. To withhold a person's wages was a miscarriage of justice. So that's what he's basically saying. He was like, aren't we forced labor? And then is he not like a hired worker and who waits for his pay? And so he's saying that he has gone, without it. When I lie down, I think, when will I get up? But the evening drags on endlessly, and I toss and turn until dawn. My flesh is clothed with maggots. He had boils, and they were filled with maggots. It's gross. And encrusted with dirt. My skin forms scabs and then oozes. My day passes more swiftly than a weaver's shuttle. They come to an end without hope. Remember that my life is but a breath. My eye will never see again. My eye will never again see anything good. The eye of anyone who looks on me will no longer see me. Your eyes will look for me, but I will be gone. I mean, he is going through it, isn't he? Job speaks of God here. He longed for some pleasant experiences before his death, which was quickly approaching. He was feeling like he was about to die. And then in 9, as a cloud fades away and vanishes, so the one who goes down to Sheol will never rise again. Now, in the Old Testament, Sheol was the grave. It also was the final state of like the wicked specifically. Sorrow from an affliction of suffering in the depths of one's being, and the tongue is the sole avenue for releasing that anguish. That was on 7-11. It says, therefore I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I the sea or a sea monster that you keep me under guard? When I say my bed will comfort me and my couch will ease my complaint, then you frighten me with dreams and terrify me with visions, so that I prefer strangling death rather than life in this body. I give up. I will not live forever. Leave me alone, for my days are a breath. I mean, he's going through it. I cannot even imagine. I mean, some of y'all may have felt that kind of pain and agony in your life. I can only imagine that if you've lost a child or have gone through some horrific experience where you have felt this. I've had people tell me that that's how they felt. And so they can definitely feel what Job is feeling right here. And so, let's see. Verse 17, what is a mere human that you think so highly of him and pay so much attention to him? You inspect him every morning. You put him to the test every moment. Will you ever look away from me or leave me alone long enough to swallow? If I have sinned, what have I done to you? Watcher of humanity, why have you made me your target so that I have become a burden to you? Why not forgive my sin and pardon my iniquity? For soon I will die in the grave, and you will eagerly seek me, but I will be gone. It's pretty bold. Job's asking God if he sinned against him unintentionally. Let the ever watchful God tell him. Job used the title watcher sarcastically whenever he was saying watcher in that. And then it says, one of the commentaries on verse 17, where he says, where is a human that you think so highly of him? It says, unlike the viewpoint of the psalmist, Job answered his own rhetorical question in disparaging fashion to indicate God's constant oppression of him. So he feels like the Lord is smiting him and is completely against him. He's like, I just need a breath without you looking at me, Lord. And so then we go on to friend number 2, Bildad. He speaks. It says, then Bildad the Shuhite replied, how long will you go on saying these things? Your words are a blast of wind. Does God pervert justice? Does the Almighty pervert what is right? Since your children sinned against him, he gave them over to their rebellion. But if you earnestly seek God and ask the Almighty for mercy, if you are pure and upright, then he will move even now on your behalf and restore the home where your righteousness dwells. Then, even if your beginnings were modest, your final days will be full of prosperity. For ask the previous generation and pay attention to what their fathers discovered. Since we were born only yesterday and know nothing, our days on earth are but a shadow. Will they not teach you and tell you and speak from their understanding? Does papyrus grow where there is no marsh? Do reeds flourish without water? While still uncut shoots, they will dry up quicker than any other plant. Such is the destiny of all who forgot God. The hope of the godless will perish. His source of confidence is fragile. What he trusts in is a spider's web. He leans on his web, but he doesn't stand firm. He grabs it, but it doesn't hold up. He is a well-watered plant in the sunshine. His shoots spread over his garden. His roots are intertwined around a pile of rocks. He looks for a home among the stones. If he is uprooted from his place, it will deny knowing him, saying, I never saw you. Surely this is the joy of his way of life, yet others will sprout from the dust. Look, God does not reject a person of integrity, and he will not support evildoers. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with a shout of joy. Your enemies will be clothed with shame. The tent of the wicked will no longer exist. So Bildad is appealing to traditional wisdom. He's acting like he's God's defense attorney, and he's charging Job with speaking like an empty windbag. Bildad's rhetorical question, expecting a negative answer in verse 3, does God pervert justice? Does the Almighty pervert what is right? It says, expecting a negative answer, God is always righteous in his actions. Bildad believes Job's sinning children got what they deserved. By implication, Bildad suggested that Job had sinned, hence his condition. Because God had spared Job's life, there was yet hope for a change in Job's fortunes. Home more strictly denotes patronage by the extension of dwelling place, when he was talking about being home. It says, Bildad appealed to traditional wisdom. Life is as short as a vanishing shadow. When it was talking about, I was wondering why it brought up in verses 11 through 13 as papyrus. It says, as papyrus dies without water to nourish it, so the godless will perish. To succeed, man needs God, the water of life. He's saying, so basically he's telling him, man needs God. He is the water of life. A man who places his hope in anything but God is like a man who leans against a spider's web. It will not hold him up. The godless are like the vine that appears firmly established among the rocks, yet is easily uprooted, leaving no trace. Bildad summed up his case. If Job was truly righteous, God would sustain him. A judicial image occurs throughout. Oh, and that was it. So that was pretty much Bildad's argument. Chapter 9 and 10 is going to go on to Job's reply to Bildad, but we're not going to read that today. And I think when I was reading that, I was reminded that a lot of what Eliphaz said to Job and what Bildad has said to Job is a lot of things that we have said to people. And I was talking to Pastor about it, and I was like, we tell people you reap what you sow, right? The Lord's not going, you need to be speaking good things. Job even says that. Where does he say that? And he even says, look, God does not reject a person of integrity, and he will not support evil. Everything that they're saying about the Lord is true. But what they're doing is they are, first of all, not being very compassionate to Job. And I think what they're doing is they're taking a lot of what they know about the Lord and their traditional knowledge of the Lord and what has happened in the past, and they are trying to apply it to Job's situation, which it doesn't. It doesn't talk about any of this happening. First of all, God's not even doing the things that he is allowing Satan to do the things, but God's not doing these things to him. And so Job feels like he's righteous before the Lord, and he is crying out saying, Lord, I have done nothing but be righteous for you. If I've sinned, what is it that I've done? And then Bildad saying, hey, your kids got what they deserve because they were not righteous, and there's still a chance for you because you're still living, right? And you just need to be, I wanted to find that. It says where he talks about the things that he says. Let's see. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with a shout of joy. Your enemies will be clothed with shame. Okay. Maybe that was something else that I was reading that I was wanting to bring that up. But basically, he's telling him that, hey, the Lord's he knows who the Lord is and he's going to restore to him. But he needs to repent. It's Bildad saying to him. And so Job is going to reply to him. And I think it's kind of crazy because sometimes we see our sisters going through a tough time, and we're like, look, if you will just trust in the Lord. And that's not bad advice, but he says, but if you will earnestly seek God and ask the Almighty for mercy, if you are pure and upright, then he will move even now on your behalf and restore the home where your righteousness dwells. And so I was just like, oh my goodness. We have said that to people, just seek the Lord earnestly and ask the Lord to forgive you on things. But I think he's acting like God's defense attorney, and I think we do that sometimes as Christians. But all right, I got a video. But I will tomorrow we will be back on track, and we will do day 27 and Isaiah 18 through 22.